All right. Let me get this thing. See if I can tell when we come on. Always good to know that we're on. Anybody hear me? It's 6 o'clock. Hey, we got sound, we got video, and we got our folks. So we ready to go. Hey, we thank every one of you for tuning in. It's 6 o'clock Monday night, Motivational Monday. We got two warriors here with us right now. Some people that everybody said that can't never be done. Two people that use together can never be together. And I know where that comes from, but I also know it can be done. And we've got one of those stories here with us tonight just to share with you. And just already been a blessing to sit here and talk with them. And listen, they're nervous, folks. Listen, I do this all the time, and I still get nervous. They don't do this all the time, so they're nervous. So I want you to pray for them. I want you to give them a like, give a share, give a comment, encourage them. This is not easy. Just imagine getting on here and telling mistakes that you've made and ways that you've messed up for everybody to see. Listen, this is not easy. So we want you to encourage them, lift them up. As always, we want to thank Stan for allowing us the space and the opportunity to come and do this. And also the state of Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. Like I said, they don't pay me to do this, but they allow me to do this, and I appreciate that. In times that we're living in, hey, listen, it's good that they will let stories like this get out. So, hey, my 2 minutes is up. I am going to get out of the way. I'm going to go out here in the lobby and sit with some of our special guests that I love dearly, and let you listen to a couple testimonies tonight. And hope you enjoy. I love every one of you, and we'll see you here in a little bit.
Hey everybody, thank you for joining us tonight. I'm really nervous, but this ain't my story to tell, this is God's story. So just bear with us. We're going to get through this together. But I was always around alcohol when I was growing up, but that was not my drug of choice, turns out. But in 2001, I gave my life to God, but I slowly walked away from that life. All that worldly things get in the way. In 2005, I went to work for the law enforcement. I thought that was going to be my career, but in 2007, God seemed fit for me not to have that job, which I didn't know or understand why, because that's what I wanted to do, or I thought I wanted to do. In 2008, I hurt my back working on a job. That's when I started getting addicted to pain pills. And 2009, I got a DUI. I got divorced. And I thought it was all downhill from there. 2010 is when I started cooking meth. The guy offered me one little bitty line out like that. He said, "I'll make you feel better." And that's when I started cooking and doing meth every day. It don't take much, folks. But it took everything from me. But I'll let Steph tell how she got to where we met at.
Hey guys, thank you for joining us. I was around alcohol my whole life. My mom was there, but then there was a lot of times that she wasn't. And then I had my father there physically, but not mentally. But, he was always doing his whole thing. I started being a mother at 16. So I always just stayed home, being the soccer mom, taking care of the kids. But I tried my hardest because I did not want my kids to ever feel how I felt. Didn't want my kids to go through, what I went through with my parents. And, The whole time I was with the kids as dad, I judged everybody, no matter what kind of drug they done, how if they had the priorities in order, it didn't matter. I didn't like them, couldn't stand it. And then after about 10.5 years, I decided to leave the kids as dad, get out on my own. It was a struggle. It was hard because I had always had the kids as dad to always take care of me. He would always try to keep me away from everything, protect me from everything. Like I didn't even know till after I left him that you could even snort pills, and I was like 25. Because he always tried to protect me from that, but at that time I never did I didn't realize that. I thought he was just being a pain, honestly. And then I ended up getting in this domestic violence relationship, which that also caused some issues. At that time I didn't see the issues, I guess sometimes you don't see things like that or realize it until later on, but it caused me to lose my kids. That was the first time that I had lost them. And then when I was stuck my kids were my everything. So when I was stuck by myself after I had lost them, the smart me decided to go see what the party was all about. So I called a few people. We done our thing, whatever. But they didn't even want to hand me anything because they knew how I was. They knew that I judged everything. I just disagreed with it. And then from there, it went, slowly from the pot. I still could not stand alcohol because, the things I went through with my mother. But it started off from there with pot. A couple of weeks after that, I decided everybody that I was around was doing pills. So I decided just, to try it, see what it's about, because everybody was doing it. And then, I was stressed dealing with the stuff with my kids and trying to figure out how to live on my own because I had always, I had my stepmom and I lived at home, and then after that at 16, I just had the kids as dad. So I've always had somebody taking care of me. I was not used to being out on my own. And then I just kept hanging with the wrong people, and then more stuff come around. The guy that had brought it to my house, he had the respect to not to deal it at my house because of my kids. But the other friend that I had there, he was like, "Yeah, here, try this," and it kind of just slowly went from there and got worse.
In 2009, when I said I got my DUI, after that, I kept on doing more pills. After I done my meth, I had a wreck in 2011 that should have killed me. I had a car head on doing 55 miles an hour. I ran off the road after I had blacked out. It came back on the road, and I hit the car so hard that my ribs was bruised so bad I bent the steering wheel. The dashboard caved in on me. The windshield busted. But God was, even when I was not following God's will, He was still watching over me. But I moved back home from where I was living at Albany, Kentucky. I done okay for a few months until I was pressured into doing it again, which it was my choice to do it when I had a gun to my head. And then after 3 or 4 months, I was hooked again. So that's cost me so many jobs, but I did get a good job in 2014, and I thought I had control. I could work and do my drugs too, but when you think you got control, you have nothing. Drugs have overrun you, and that's all you really want to think about. Working enough to get paid to go get high. We could always find money to get high, but we could never pay our own bills. And 2015 was the first time I went to jail for drugs. I lost my job. We lost our home. Our 2-year-old got to see me let out in handcuffs. That's when they they removed him from the house, but you would think that would have been rock bottom for me. 2016, we both started working in a job in Clinton, Tennessee. We did okay for a few months again, and one thing went to another. Guy dumps out a whole gram of meth on the dresser, said, "Here, do what you want," and I couldn't walk away from that. I had no willpower. I had lost my faith in God. It was just bottom line. I had no faith whatsoever again. We ended up losing that job because we had to go toward a lot. 2017, I got pulled over. I'd done 45 days in jail. My dad passed away when I was in jail. You'd think I'd hit rock bottom, but apparently there was no rock bottom for me to find. 2018, went to jail again. I missed the birth of my son because I was wanting to get high. I began to steal. I got arrested for theft under $500. And I missed my son being born just because of the $30. Got out of jail this time. We lost custody of the kids. In 2019, got arrested again for violation because I failed a drug test. Losing my kids was not rock bottom for me. I don't know how it wasn't. You would think losing your kids would be enough to make you straighten up and go right. But this last time I went to jail, I was offered a recovery for it. And when I stand in front of the judge, I promise it felt like God was saying, "This is your last chance. This is it."
And just, I lost the kids the first time. And you would think that I would have tried to get out of the mess, but I didn't. I guess you could say I loved him or whatever, but I didn't. I don't know if I just was used to the abuse because of all the things that I have been through, with my parents, the ones that should have been there for me, or what. But we lost our house, everything. The kids' dad, he seen how bad I got. I didn't realize, but he decided that he was going to take himself off the leash because, to show me, I guess, he done what he needed to do, but he also had to take care of himself and my kids. We ended up moving to Winfield. And I tried to quit a couple times, but it's a struggle to do when one is ready and the other's not ready because you fall back right in the same tracks. And one day, like 3 different counties come knocking on our door. Our 2-year-old at that time, thankfully at that time they didn't put me in handcuffs, but they did Michael. I had to get an argument with them because there was 5 of them on them in a taser, and then they got mad because I went to go get my 2-year-old, but I didn't want him to see all that. Thankfully I have the kids' dad and stepmom, who was, has even been willing to take him in before I got in trouble. Because they had seen how I was. So I went off on them a few times when I shouldn't have. So the oldest kid's dad got custody, and Courtney got custody of him. And, they've been raising him since. You would think that would be enough. But I don't know. It wasn't. I just did not care anymore. I mean, I got a whole lot worse after that happened. Was running from state to state, and you name it. Then I ended up getting pregnant with Sophia. I tried to quit there for a little bit. I told Michael I didn't want in the house, didn't want nowhere around me. got Rock in the house. I give in again. And then a few years later, we end up moving to Hillwood, get us a place in Hillwood, still doing our thing. Thought we were taking care of Sophie and thought we were spending time with the other kids. But it wasn't how we thought. Because I would want a bus before I'd even go see my kids, so I'd have energy to play with them. But then I didn't want to go too high because I didn't want them to notice. So me trying to juggle that out caused me not to really spend time with them at all. And then after that, while we're leaving in Hillwood, I get a phone call from my dad, and I was trying to slow down at this time, but not like quit because I thought I could control it. I thought I could just do a little bit and I'd be okay. But it don't work that way. You think it can, but it don't. I get a phone call from the hospital in Nashville because my dad tried to commit suicide. And I was the only person my dad had left. And I had a rough childhood growing up because he didn't know how to show love. He was never taught it. Go to Nashville and pick him up, but the agreement was I wasn't going to let him know about the other stuff because I knew that he was already on it really bad. He comes to live with us. I've done everything that I could for him. But he just kept wanting more, and it got to where I couldn't work. I was getting sick at work. So I eventually had to turn my dad away, which was a really hard thing for me to deal with because I knew his mental state of mind. And I knew as soon as I did, something would happen. But at that point in time, I was trying to do what was best for me and my family. So I took him behind on that hospital and dropped him off at the rehabilitation center. Somehow he manages to get back to Nashville, and I get phone calls again from that same hospital. And it took me a while to be able to talk about it and deal with it. But I hated myself for the longest because I turned my dad away and kicked my dad out for the same bullcrap I was sitting and doing. Even though, I knew something was going to happen, that something would happen because I knew my dad. And then Michael goes to jail. I went to jail twice. They let me out both times because I was pregnant. But I sat there and done everything on my own. When Michael was in jail, tried to do everything, make sure he had money, food. It was a struggle trying to do it by myself. Then I ended up having Sebastian. I thought because, I didn't do a couple drugs for a couple days, that everything was going to be okay, that he was going to be born, he was clean, whatever. But they didn't find nothing in his system, but it didn't work that way. The same day that I was leaving the hospital was the same day DCS came in. And thankfully they let me ride home with him. And Mama wouldn't let me see him as much as what I wanted to. But it was so hard going home at night by myself. And you would think I've lost the older kids twice. I lost my 2-year-old. He's seen us get arrested. And he already basically don't have a father. At that time he had Michael, but his biological father was not in the picture. So then it was he didn't have a biological father. Then loses his mom. Then I go and lose the other 2 kids. And you would think after me losing my kids this many times that it would be a wake-up call for me. But it wasn't. Because I had not lost them all. And then it was I lose the 2 babies. it was a struggle to deal with because I wanted my kids back, but I hated myself. I got to the point where I didn't care about nothing anymore. I didn't care what happened to me. There was a couple times that I would sit and do a whole lot more than what I normally do because I was just tired of everything. And then, but thankfully when we went to court the last time, and I honestly believe this helped because usually Michael was the one in jail, I was the one out dealing with it all. Well, the last time that we went to jail, I was the one that got to stay in jail. And, I had asked for drug court whenever we done our little interview things. He got to get out. They swapped it up on us, which is, I think that's what needed to happen. It helps a lot because basically, switched. He got to take care and deal with everything. And then I got to sit in jail and think about everything and deal with everything. And I think what hit me the most is when my kids' stepmom. My kids' stepmom had brought them to see me in jail. I think that was the hardest thing I've ever had to do is see my kids on that monitor. And they're all upset because, I've heard them so many times. But I think the two biggest things that finally got to me that made me hit my rock bottom was my middle daughter had gotten some trouble. It was doing some things and it's like I seen her falling down my same tracks. And it hurt bad. And then my oldest, she's been there with me through everything. Like I said, I had her at 16. But when she was sitting there, and she was serious firm, she wasn't even emotional because she was so tired of it. But she would just look me straight in the face and tell me, Mom, I don't want nothing else to do with you anymore. She said, you've told us so many times you're going to quit, and you just go right back to doing the same crap. She said, I can't believe you if I don't trust you. And I don't want nothing else to do with you anymore. That hit me hard. And I guess that you could say that was my rock bottom, to seeing my kids fall on the same track, and then one of them was already starting on what else to do with me. And then they sent me to rehab in Buffalo Valley. I got to see the two babies once, but I didn't get to see the other kids at all while I was there. I have to say, Buffalo Valley helped me a lot. But you have to be... Everybody's rock bottom is different. And it sucks. It's hard. Because you think, after you get so far, well, that would be your rock bottom, but it ain't. Like, my kids should have been my rock bottom. But I just got worse and worse and worse. Good.
Whenever I took recovery court last year, from my previous experience with law enforcement, 15 years before that, I didn't really believe in recovery court. But like she said, this time they switched it up. When I got out of jail, I had to figure out things on my own. While she was in jail, I had to take care of her and try to find another job. And my rock bottom was sitting in our trailer, looking around at all the pictures of kids on the walls, knowing they wouldn't be with me, knowing she wouldn't be with me. And I thumbed through YouTube. I was having a pity party. I found a song when Mercy walked in. And that's when I asked God to forgive me again. And when His mercy, I just felt something overwhelming. Just come off my shoulders like a big, huge weight had been lifted up. I had to learn things on my own again. I had to learn how to, do my meetings. I had to learn how to. This time the drug part was not hard to quit for me. God took all the cravings away. There's no cravings whatsoever. But learning the recovery process is a daily thing for me. I want to learn more. I want to grow more. When I said in 2005 I wanted to help people by working for law enforcement, little did I know that God had a different way for me to help. I think God allowed me to go through this struggle to get where I'm at today, to be able to reach out, to share my story of where God has brought me from. Our life is not perfect by no means, but God has allowed us this time and us together to share and show people that recovery is possible. God has allowed us to be with our children. He's allowed us to have a home. He's allowed us to be in a good work environment. And He's allowed us to make really good Christian friends. And I'm thankful for everything. Even my struggles, I'm thankful for that. And if you're watching tonight, don't ever give up.
But you know, before all this, like as a child, I was really never raised up in a church home. You know, my mom would send us to church. I guess to get a break from us sometimes. My father, he wasn't a believer at all when I was a child. Every time something would go wrong, he would cuss the Lord and blame Him for everything that went wrong. You know, that's what I was raised around. So, as I grew older, I questioned everything. I didn't really have no faith at all. But when I was in Buffalo Valley, I had decided to go ahead and go to church. And the song Chain Breakers came on. You know, I don't know what it was about that song that day, but it hit me hard. And I broke down like a little baby, and all I wanted to do was run up to the altar. But, you know, at the same time, I was scared. But afterwards, after I went up there, I felt like I was floating, you know. And, you know, it was something that felt good. And I liked it. So after that, I continued going to church. You know, continued like reading the Bible. And I got saved while I was up there. And I come back home. We continue, you know, I'm in drug recovery court. So, you know, I was learning the meeting process and all that. And it was crazy because in jail, all I heard was recovery court was a joke, not to do it, that I was messing up. But, you know, it's not. If it's really what you're wanting and you're willing, there's nothing to it. I mean, I like my meetings. To me, there ain't enough. I want to go more sometimes, but I mean, if you're wanting to do it, it don't take no time out of your schedule. Like, you know, it's all just my normal daily. My kids, they're involved in my recovery. They've questioned me sometimes because before I'd always thought, I guess you could say, thought I was hiding it from them, but kids ain't stupid. They know. And they even questioned me when I first come out. Mom, why are you telling us, you know, why are you telling us this? Before you would tell us nothing, you would try to lie to us. Because I told them, I want them to know the truth. I don't have nothing to hide from them no more. And, you know, I try to involve them in everything in my recovery. And, you know, our relationship went from really, really distant to I'm really close with all of them now. We've all came a long way. Just don't ever give up hope. You know, but you have to also be willing. You have to in your heart want it. You can't just do it because the judge is making you. You can't get sober because, like a lot of people, and nobody take this the wrong way. But you hear a lot of people saying, well, I'm going to quit doing drugs because, I have to because of drug court, or I have to because I need to get my kids back, or I'm getting sober for my kids. You can't, when you get sober, you cannot do it. Don't take it the wrong way, but you can't do it for your kids. You can't do it because you have to, or it's not going to work. You have to do it for yourself. It has to be something that you want. But before you can do it for your kids, you have to do it for yourself, or it's just not going to work.
After we got our kids back in August of last year, it's coming up on a year now. My mama, so everybody knows her as Granny. I asked her if I could help her with anything. She looked at me. She grabbed me like this right here. She said, "Son, you've kept so many tears from falling off my face." She said, "I'm so thankful I don't have to worry about you no more." I want people to see God in my life. I want them to, I'm proud of you. It was God that pulled me out of the fire. There would be nights that I was afraid I'd die and go to hell if I fell asleep. But here's our blessings. This is what God can do in your life.
I do want to say that this hasn't been really that easy. It's been really hard. I don't really remember everything, but I remember her leaving my father. And her and Michael got together. I didn't really understand anything. I didn't really know what was going on. And then, things started being different. I was technically amongst my younger siblings. I did a lot for her. And I remember them going to jail, getting in trouble, and we got taken away. And that's when my dad Lorenzo and his wife Courtney took us in. And I remember that whenever we had to go there, that I was still kind of like trying to be a mother to them, and Courtney had to break me from that. And my mom she really wasn't around to be a mom. And then I had Courtney, and she was a mom to me. I had her to rely on, and still I didn't really understand anything. And I remember Mom and Michael telling me that, they're going to get better, and they promised us, and but I knew things were still off, and then one day, I realized, they ain't gonna get better, that's what I thought at the time, and I lost faith in them, and when my mom was in jail, and Michael wasn't, I texted him, and I told him straight up how I felt, that I didn't trust him or believe him, and that, I wanted nothing to do with him. And then I went and see my mom while she was in jail. And I let the kids talk to her. They were upset. We were all heartbroken. And I know when I sat in that chair and I talked to her, I had a straight face and she had a straight face with me. And I straight up told her that I had wanted nothing to do with her. I didn't believe them no more because I was so hurt. When they started doing drugs, it really hurt me. And every time I believe that they get better, and they never did. But they finally started getting better after the last time and started doing recovery court and all that. And, you know, I'm glad that they've been able to make it through. It's been really hard. I'm really proud of my mom. I can't.
But if you're out there watching, you get all those back. And it's worth it. You know, the kids have been through a lot, as you can tell. But you know, we're all together. We're all together again. It's like this all, you know, all the time. We're not this emotional all the time, but and then you know, even me and the kids' dad, and especially their stepmom, we have become super close. She calls me if she needs somebody to talk to sometimes. She's always my go-to person. If I got something going on, or if I just want somebody to talk to, I know that I can turn to her. You know, we have got close over the last year since we have become sober. I know I can call her for anything. If I need anything, you know, she'll stop what she's doing. So I can come let out whatever I need to let out. Because, you know, recovery was an easy thing for me this time. But I still have them times where, because I don't like to communicate about my personal feelings all, you know, all the time. So sometimes things do get to me. And you need somebody to talk to. You have to have somebody to be able to talk to that you can trust. And, you know, I try to be here for everybody. Like, it helps me in my recovery to do everything I can to help others. I love helping people. It's just one of the best feelings, trying to help everybody else in recovery too. And trying to help them get on the right path if I can do it. But, you know, still though, even though I'm there to do that, I know I still also need that person. And, you know, I know I can call the kids a stepmom, and she'll be there for me. Alexis, she's fixing to be 18. It sounds crazy, but I can even call her and talk to her about things. Because she's had to grow up quick, so she understands a whole lot. So I'm able to go to her, you know, I'm able to also go to her a whole lot. But it does help me a lot to help other people, to be here with my kids, to be able to take them places and do things, not, you know, without their dad or Courtney have to stress or worry, or, you know, they even trust me to do things for them now. And having people to trust you, it feels really good. But if any of you out there that's listening tonight need somebody to talk to, needs a listening ear, you can always message me on Facebook. I'm always listening ear. We can't tell you what, like, you know, what you need to do, but I can share more of my story with you and tell you how I got through things. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Finally saying that. Hey, that right there's real. Addiction 10 times harder on the family than it is on the addict. You've seen it. Didn't know we was going to get into all this tonight, but I sat back there and watched these kids and realized, listen, this is real, folks. Makes me real ashamed of some of the things I've done. But hey, these folks are here to help. They want to be a help and a blessing to people. I know if you listen, you got a blessing. So Hey, we're gonna get out of here. I'm gonna try to talk them into let me take them out. Let's get something to eat and love on these kids a little bit. So we'll see you next week. I never know how to turn this thing off.
Yeah, he likes to just let people
Pretty
keep
awkward
listening
for
to him.
about 15, 20 minutes afterwards.